Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. I've been doing quite well exploration-wise. Last week I've actually made several hundred million on several days during the week, so that's been going quite well. Unfortunately, if I already take a look at this, the bar at the bottom there, it's looking like my investments are not doing so hot, so thank God I've got something going for me. So let's take a seat and yeah, let's jump right in here. As always, we will start with plex, and I'm writing down like 40 seconds for that again. When I checked it like 10 minutes ago, we were at 794 million for the sell orders, but a few new ones came in here, 793, 12 plex, so that's actually not bad. You can see right here less than 5 minutes ago, and then another one at 791. It does show that people are willing to sell plex at the current prices below 800 million, but I do feel that this will get snagged up quite quickly, so I'm amazed at how this is like the second week in a row where there's actually so much movement going on in the plex market that we're seeing a difference between what I wrote down for the bottom bar and what's actually available right here, because 791 is exactly the same price as what we had last week, and so if there could be some competition here, we could actually be looking at a flat price. And if you look here at the 6-month chart and at the 1-month chart, you can actually see that plexes are pretty much on a sideways movement at the moment at around 790 million price mark. They actually dipped down to 770 earlier in the month, then they went back up towards 790, and they seem to be holding pretty much steady at that point. And the fact that there are plexes coming in here, but yeah, 791 it's already snagged up, so it's very hard for plexes to go down, as you can see. And in fact already 3 of the ones at 793 have also been picked up already. 783 for the sellers, which is like a 9 million margin. It's a little bit too low, so I do think there's just still a little bit of upwards pressure at the moment here. I'm used from like a few years ago and stuff like that. I'm more used to like a 12 to 13 million margin, and since we're already seeing these sellers being picked up, I do think we've got a little bit of upwards momentum. But if I look at the 1-month chart, it's actually going to be slow at the moment. So we'll see if Oceanus and then the promise of null-sec changes could change this dynamic, but for now, yeah, 790 to 800 million seems to be where plexes are holding, and it seems to be yeah, holding so quite well, because despite the fact that people are trying to sell a good amount of plex from what we've seen here, they're actually not going down. So it's not like the market is oversupplied either. People are willing to pay those prices. Let's move on to minerals then. And God, I hope that the guy working outside is not going to make too much noise on the recording. But yeah, minerals, let's move on here to titanium. This is the 1-month chart. We had an upswing last week up to 540, a little bit of a correction, but it's already taking back off. So titanium does want to move higher. Let's have a quick look here at current prices. 538 for the buyers, 547 for the sellers. So actually a few of the lowest sell orders have also already been picked up. Amazing how competitive the market seems to be here at the moment. If we look at the numbers here, 1.2 billion, that's quite a lot, and this is almost another billion. We're seeing 230, 350 million, 220 million, so I'm seeing more demand than supply in the titanium market. And so these yeah, this move upwards here for titanium, I think has some potential in it. You can also see that the 20-day moving average is starting to move up, so it's actually been able to maintain higher prices than the average for a reasonable amount of time here in the last few weeks. And so yeah, maybe titanium, some upwards momentum is possible, despite the fact that the bottom bar there is showing a slight contraction. That's, I guess, because we were a little bit closer to the peak. But yeah, competition is very high, and I'm seeing bigger numbers on the buy orders market. Let's have a look here at pyrite. 1123 for the buyers, 1134 for the sellers. Also taking off a little bit. It's not a lot just yet, but the upwards momentum is here both for the 5-day moving average and the 20-day moving average. So that's actually pretty nice. Numbers wise, 500 million, 800 million, 145 million is the biggest sell order. So here again I'm seeing more demand than supply for pyrite, and slowly here prices are trying to get higher. Let's have a look at Mexalon then. Yeah, up for the entire month. Again, it's pretty slow, but here after reaching 62 ISK, the market hesitated a little bit, but it does look like Mexalon is actually going higher, and the 20-day moving average on a very nice upward movement right here. Let's have a quick look. 64.9 for the sellers, 63.2 for the buyers. So obviously breaking past that 62 price mark. They've been able to do it in the last few weeks. Numbers wise, 70 million, 65 million, almost 300 million. Yeah, 5 million, 5 million. Yeah, again, more demand than supply in Mexalon here as well. Very nice, I think, for the high-sec miners, because this has some potential to go higher. Let's have a look at Isogen then. Also, yeah, look at that. It's really trying. All of them right here, right at the tail end. I'm seeing a little bit of an attempt for a breakout. 20-day moving average is slowly being pulled up here as well on the entire month. That's not looking bad either, going from 119 to 129. That's actually pretty much okay. 128 pretty much for the sellers, 127 for the buyers. Very small margin. And if again we look at the numbers, look at that, 11 million, almost 40 million, and here again almost 40 million. Pretty recent, nothing close to that yet. 20 million right here for 130. But yeah, I'm seeing more demand than supply for these high-sec minerals. It's definitely here, and prices are going up pretty substantially across the board, I would say. Not so much in big numbers, but the fact that all of them are doing the same thing, I think is a strong indicator that something might be up. Let's have a look then at Noxium, what I'm calling the in-between one. Looks like the downward trend from the last few weeks after reaching 690 is finally stopping at 650. So let's have a quick look at prices. 644 for the sellers, 644 for the buyers. Oh my god, we're actually looking closer to 660 for the other sell orders. But yeah, look at that, 644.05 for the buyers, 644.06 for the sellers. Might as well have just sold straight to the markets if you're doing that. But 660 for the sellers, putting 650 pretty much right in the middle. If I'm seeing a bit bigger numbers, yeah, 6 million here, another 7 million here. That one is a bit older though, but the 6 million is pretty recent at the 644.04 market. So I do think that Noxium also has a little bit of upwards pressure in it. It's just that it's not really a major high-sec mineral like the other four. It's a little bit more expensive, and so it has some characteristics, I would say, of null-sec and wormhole minerals as well. And so that's why it's really a nice transition from the high-sec ones to the null-sec ones. So let's have a look at what those are actually doing. I'm pretty curious here. Zydrine is at least trying. 440 right there. I bought at 450, but at least it's not breaking out below 420 right here, which was a little bit of a threat. So yeah, 440 for the buyers, 440 for the sellers. Look at that, just 1 cent difference in between these. The numbers are going to be pretty important, but I'm not really seeing 2 million, 2.6, 1.3, but here 1.3 million, 1.7 million. So I think it could go a little bit higher, but it really depends on basically the supply, because the sell orders are really what dictate the price mostly in these null-sec minerals. And so if supply keeps coming online here with a lot of competition in between them, we could see higher Zydrine prices. Otherwise it's going to be very tough. Let's have a look at Megasite. That one, unfortunately, no end in sight for the downward spiral for that one. Reaching 860, yeah, 869 for the sellers, 837 for the buyers. I stepped in here at 950, which obviously was way too early. Lost probably another 10% since then, so that was not a good investment on my part. I'll need to be patient, I think, before I'll have a sell opportunity. But this is very surprising. Just look at the 6-month chart here. This is a crash from 1600, and now it's actually starting to close in on at 800. So that's 50% loss in 6 months. That's actually pretty damn bad. If I go for the 1-year chart, it's even worse. It's definitely lost 50% over 1 year. So yeah, not looking too great here, the Megasite market. It's really kind of weird how low this one is going, and it's crushing my expectation by still going down week after week, despite the fact that this is pretty much as low as I've seen Megasite be in my 4 years of EVE Online. So yeah, this is definitely the counter to Plex. I guess a lot of ISK going into Plex, not going into the Megasite market at the moment. Very interesting stuff. Next up, Tech One Chips, I guess, and that's at 10.25. Let's have a quick look here. Caracal, what's that one doing? 1 month chart. It's correcting back down, but if it can still hold like the 9.4 million price mark, then that could actually be okay. 9.3 for the sellers here, 9.4 third sell order, 9.1 for the buyers. I think this is actually okay. So I would say this correction, it's pretty sharp, and that's true, but it's also a normal correction after going from 9.4 to 10.8 million, correcting back, and now it will need some time to stabilize back at 9.3, 9.4. There's still a good amount of supply though. Yeah, this correction is actually normal, and so this does continue to show that the Tech One market, this is like a 3-month chart, it's still holding at like 10.4 to 9.4. Yeah, it's 11.4 to 9.4, so that's a 2 million, but it's been able to stay decently well in between those. So I think it's still an okay market right here, well supplied, well balanced. I'm not seeing any signs that this is actually going to like either go to the moon or that the bottom is going to drop out of this. Let's have a look here at the Dominics next. Again, you know, it's lost a little bit from 192 here to 184 at the end of 3 months on the 1 month chart, starting at 178 to 184. So again, decently stable, really no drama in the Tech One market at the moment here. The Drake, very nice example here, starting at 44, ending at 45. Just a little bit of normal market variation, but yeah, just look at the magnate here. Looks like somehow this chart has fixed itself. It was really weird before that, but very stable at the 440,000 mark. And then the Talos here, that one is yeah, going up to 72.5. I think again is going to be short-lived. If I look at supply and demand, it just someone came in, bought a lot of Talos, I think, but we will soon see more supply coming in. Look at that, 27 units less than 12 hours ago, coming in straight away. So this will be short-lived again. I do feel in general the Tech One market is stable, and we're not seeing any huge movements just yet. There's not enough war, not enough destruction going on at the moment to really start to push prices up, and people are patient enough, are willing to stockpile within their own nullsec stations. I think that the only upswings happen when a nullsec alliance decides to buy pretty much a whole fleet. Other than that, it's a pretty calm market, this Tech One market. Let's move on to the Tech Two market, and let's hope that that one is a little bit different. 1320. I do think it's better to go for a longer chart here. This is the Absolution command chip. It's trying to go down finally from its high, so that's what I would expect from command chips. I think a lot of this has been due to the Alliance tournament, and I do think that it's going to be time for them to correct a little bit. And Absolution, it definitely went below the 260 mark, a little bit of an upswing at the tail end, but let's just hope that they do indeed start to correct back so we can start to make some investments in this market again. Astarte right here, unfortunately still holding at the 290, so a little bit too high here. Claymore too high as well. Damnation is trying, look at that. If it would reach closer to 240, you could start to consider something here. So that one is finally starting to do a little bit of its correcting. Here is the Eagle, nice little spike, going back down towards 170, but after it reached it, bounced back up to 180, and now it's going back down. I think, yeah, 180 for the sellers, 171 for the buyers. So maybe on buy orders, I feel this could be decent for Eagles already. But as you can see, it's very, very tricky, and there's a lot of movement. 5-day moving average hitting 170 and an immediate bounce back up to 180. That's 10 million, that's a decent movement, and now it's already going back down again, so a buy opportunity might be in the works, I think, for the Eagle. Next up, the EOS. Finally, this is healthier, this is nice. Pretty good correction, and in fact I do think that prices are going to start to be important here. 326 for the sellers, 316 for the buyers, so yeah, a little bit too high still, but this is a nice sign that finally the EOS might start to be going down drastically. If you're probably able to pick some up at like 290 or 280, those are pretty good signs, because before that we had major spikes up at those price points. So I'd say the EOS, yeah, keep an eye on that one. It's finally doing what I was expecting some of the command chips to do. Guardian, I've bought some of these. Now let's have a quick look. 136 to 132. Yeah, you could have bought them close to 130, which is what I did. And yeah, 1 month chart right here. Look at this data point. A spike in the works. It's a possibility. It's a little bit too early to tell. But the next week I think could be interesting for the Guardian market. So I've made my move on a few of them, and this could finally be an investment that might end up paying off if I look at the start right here. Let's have a look at the Hound. Yeah, pretty stable unfortunately. Is it in buy order territory? I would say no. Break 19 million and you could invest in some Hounds, but this is a little bit risky. Manticore, nice little spike. It does show the potential of the Tech 2 market right here. It broke 21 million and now it's back up. Sell orders at 24 million, so 3 million, more than 10%, a movement that is very fast paced. I do like this Tech 2 market for investments and for trades, and so here again the Manticore showing the potential for that. Nemesis going pretty low, look at that, starting to head towards 19 million. You can have buy orders below 19 million, even sell orders below 20. Could be interesting if you look at some of the previous spikes here. 23, couple of them, then 24 and a big spike up to 29. So yeah, maybe this could be interesting investment wise. The Nighthawk, yeah, command chip, yep, a little bit too high, a little bit too stable up there. It needs to correct really. Purifier, it's trying to come down, but not enough honestly. Closer to, yeah, breaking 20 million, closer to 19 million is probably where you have some better opportunities. Scimitar here, decently low, I would say, but your buy opportunity below 140 is already passed. And here 20-day moving average is still being dragged down. It's a little dangerous, but maybe for the Scimitar. Sleipnir then, finally another command chip that is doing its correction. The trigger does seem to be closer to 230 though, and buy order still at 258. I would not move in just yet, but it's good to know that at least some of the command chips are starting to correct from their highs. And then the Vulture also correcting a little bit. I think a 1 year chart is actually going to be more interesting for that one. They actually broke 220 a few times, so I'm not sure. Yeah, the Vulture is really starting to come down pretty drastically. Look at that, the buy orders 210. Maybe if you can pick him up on buy orders below 220, that could actually be okay. But yeah, I do think some of these ships, like right here, was it the Manticore? Yeah, it shows you the potential from for traders in the Tech 2 market. And I do think that that I like to always keep an eye on this for maybe quick opportunities when I've had a good week in exploration, want to invest some of my ISK. Some of this could be good, and my latest move has been on the Guardian personally. Keep in mind, all of this is advice, of course. I'm not telling you to do anything. You have to do your own research for that. Let's move on to the Tech 3 market, 1845. We're keeping up nicely with last week, so let's have a look here at the Legion. The movement down is actually starting to slow down here at 130, which is of course very low for Legions over here. Unfortunately, yeah, oversupply, look at that, 96, 20, 25, 22. Oversupply is still here. I can only say that I'm expecting them to go even lower, these Tech 3 ships, although it is starting to slow down. Next up, the Loki, pretty much the same here, slowing down at the 132 mark. 50, 15, 24, oversupply is still here though, so it just takes one seller to really break and to say, well, I'm gonna undercut this by another 3 million, to hell with it, I'm going below 130, and then the price is actually going down. It's a major player that has to really buy huge amounts of ships for this to go back up, so I think it's very, very dangerous. Oversupply for the Proteus here as well, again slowing down at 134 million. But I think it's just too dangerous at the moment to risk really picking up these Tech Tree ships unless you really have a use for them personally. Tengu, similar chart, but again here 93 Tengus coming in. That's just major oversupply. It's really a recent order. It's one of the competitive orders, and it's still huge numbers. So the Tech Tree market, look out. If you look at supply demand, it still has huge downward pressure. Unless you can really use them, I would not invest in Tech Tree ships just yet, just because, well, we have no word on when this rebalancing is finally going to take place. We know it could be decently soon, but it's just too risky in my book at the moment. But you could of course do it if you're willing to hold on to it until the rebalancing comes out and then try to make your move. That's a possibility. You do need to keep a close eye on both the market and the news then, because there is no telling when another producer is going to decide that, well, I'm willing to part with another 100 legions for 125 or 128 or something like that, and then yeah, the best time to buy would have been a little bit later. So it's really hard to say with such an oversupplied market that's been like this for more than a year. Keep that in mind as well. And then yeah, let's end up with something extra. What's that? 2120. The light missile launchers are going to get nerfed, and that should or could have an impact on a couple of ships. So the aim was actually for a couple of let me see here, a couple of interceptors, namely the Malediction, because it had too high damage projection, I guess. So the Malediction, this is probably the downward movement because of the announcement from 23.5 to 20 million. Yeah, it's actually a pretty big movement, more than 10%, but now it's decently stable at 20 million, so it looks like that market has already absorbed the news. And then let's have a look at the Crow, the other one that was aimed here. Yeah, maybe a little bit right here from 22.5 dropping to 20, but already a move back up to 22 and now going back down again. It's hard to say if this is really related to that news, although both of them are obviously down like more than 10% for the entire month. So yeah, they're getting a little bit of a nerf, but what could be more interesting are some of these light missile launchers then. And god damn it, that noise outside. I hope it's not, it doesn't come through too much. Missile launchers, light missile launchers, let's have a quick look here. Obviously light missile launcher one, we're talking about 18,000 to 20,000 ISK. Surprisingly enough going up, but I actually think this is a bad example. I don't think most people actually use light missile launcher ones. Let's check here, experimental TE2100s. That one is obviously down a little bit. Peak at 720 and now down. Let's have a quick look at current prices here. Yeah, 688. 688, so down a little bit, but still nothing too drastic, honestly. Here is the limited Limos. That's, I think, a more used one, from 240 to 120. Yeah, that one has been halved in price pretty much. So this is actually a serious downward movement on this one. Limited Limos, that price is being cut in half here. Prototype Arbalists, I just knew a spike to 5 million and now it's down to 420, but that's where it started the month. So I don't think that the Arbalist actually such a big movement on that one. And here again the Malkuth doing quite alright. So once again, yeah, light missile launcher 2, that one is actually breaking quite badly, starting at 800k. Current prices actually back up to 760, where 1200 of them come in. Yeah, I'm not seeing that huge of a movement. I'm actually a little bit surprised by that it's not a more of a uniform drop in all of them, because they actually do get nerfed. But it's a little bit, it's just not as big of a movement as what I've had expected. I would suspect that this is due to them being small frigates and small modules. There's just so many of them that it's actually hard to really make such a huge drop in a small amount of time, because it's just such a huge market volume wise that it's probably hard to do. I am seeing, now that I say this, volume has been dropping here though in like the last week or so. So maybe, yeah, people just aren't gonna buy that that much anymore. And so maybe, yeah, prices could start to head down, but I'm surprised that it's not an immediate response. It looks like a pretty much slow burn for these nerfed ships and goods. So, and actually they're not nerfed that much, those interceptors. They get changed a little bit. They might have other jobs that they could still do very well. So maybe, yeah, maybe I was expecting a little bit more than what was reasonable for the market to move on these nerf announcements. Maybe they're not as bad as people make them out to be as well. But yeah, I thought I'd check this. I always try to check something extra, something different every week. And so yeah, the light missile launcher nerf sounded like a good idea, but I'm not seeing that big of a response by the market. Anyway, that's it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.